Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic
Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today we got a fun book. It's a little IDW Press kind of indie book that came out around 2009 called Richard Stark's Parker, the Hunter. The Hunter. And had you heard of this book before, John?
Never.
All right. Well, this is a book by the late great amazing Darwyn Cooke, who also did books like New Frontier for Disney, for DC. It might be Disney eventually. We don't know. They're buying everything.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but this is actually based on a book series by Richard Stark, and the book series is from the 60s. So, you hadn't heard of this character at all, right?
No, I had to go. I looked it up a little bit beforehand. I was like, who's Richard Stark? And I went back there and I was like, oh, that's actually pseudonym. It was Donald Westlake. And
Right.
Who is this? And so,
Who's a writer? He's like a
Yeah.
famous crime writer. He does like crime books generally, or like mystery, thrillers and stuff. Now, you might have actually heard of this story before because there's been a couple movies based on this specific book.
yeah.
There was the Mel Gibson movie Payback from the 90s.
Huh.
That's based on this, except Donald Westlake or Richard Stark, whoever you want to call him, never gave his permission to use the name of Parker on anything except this book, because that's how awesome Darwyn Cooke is. And Darwyn Cooke was like, I love this character. I'm awesome. Here's my art for it. Here's what I want to do. And Donald Westlake was like, yes, you're the first thing I'm going to let you use this. So yeah, the Mel Gibson movie Payback is loosely based on this.
Okay.
Which I kind of wanted to rewatch.
Yeah, now it makes me want to rewatch that because I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, and then a couple years ago, Jason Statham came out with a movie called Parker. Because now that Donald Westlake's dead, I think they can use the name if they're referencing stuff, or maybe his estate said they could use it or whatever. I have not seen that movie because it looked like a piece of shit. So,
Jason Statham.
yeah. I'm Parker. I'm British for some reason, even though Parker is not British.
Yeah, this is like the 1950s-ish.
Yeah. It's weird. It's in the 60s. It's set in the 60s. Yeah. So this book is basically, it is just this first book is just a revenge tale based or from the viewpoint of Parker, who is a longtime career criminal in theft. So now I have read all the books, most of the books. I'm on there's 26 books or something like that. I'm on 23 or something like that. So
Holy moly.
yeah. So I've read a lot of them. And, like I said, Darwyn Cooke, he actually wanted to make, this was like his, I want to do this thing for the next 20 years. And he died before he could finish more than 4.
Dang.
So he wanted to do at least 2 more, maybe 3, to kind of wrap up the whole, he didn't cover every book. He would do the main story point books. So they are 100% worth the read, and they are, this graphic novel I think was only 130 pages.
Yeah, 130.
And most of it was not hard to read or anything.
No, I mean, and there's so many ones that are set up as far as it's just the dark shady area of someone getting somewhere, and maybe 1 or 2 word blurbs at that.
Yeah, most of it is actually the first half of this book I read in 5 minutes. I was like, oh wow, this is crazy how fast this went by. But so we should say, this book is in blue and black and white. It's kind of like a mix of blue, black, and white. So it would be black and white, and then he added blue shading on shadows and stuff. So very cool look to the book. The only thing I thought was kind of hard to understand sometimes was the panels on each page are not outlined in black. So sometimes there's just a white in between. And because there's a lot of white on the page anyway, because it's a black and white and blue book, you were like, oh, well, that's a division. Like, it was hard to see where the division in the panels were until you saw, like, oh, that's a motion going in 3 panels or whatever, so that's my only, like, oh, that was kind of, sometimes I'd have to go check it out again and be like, wait, what happened?
I saw that maybe once or twice. The only thing that I really took, and it was only in a few parts, and there was a lot of things going on, a lot of action, and maybe a lot of people on the pages. If people were like running and hiding between places, there was, they're all dressed very similarly.
Yeah, they're all wearing
men in
suits. It's the 60s, so everybody's wearing a suit and a hat.
Yeah, and so I was like, wait a minute. I mean, like, but then it's pretty obvious that, like, well, Parker's the main character, so if there's something crazy happening and someone's getting, whacked or something bad's happening, it's probably Parker doing the action. So
yeah, that's like the thing in this one, especially this one. This one's different than all the other books, except, well, starting at 3. After 3, they're all just heist books. The first 3 are kind of like this story arc of him versus originally the guy that killed him, or supposedly killed him in this first book, and then 2 and 3 are just him getting revenge on the syndicate or the outfit, or whatever you want to call them. The mob, they're called. Which I thought was fun. Now, did you know what the syndicate was when you first read it?
I figured it was something like that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we should just say the whole story, like what this is about. So Parker is a criminal who has a wife named Lynn, and they were on a job that was like, oh, we're gonna rob some, basically like South American insurgents, I guess, that were like, we need guns. So they were like, we're going to sell guns to you, and you just bring millions of dollars to this island. And then they just double-crossed them, stole the money. It was him, his wife, a pilot, another guy, and then this guy named Mal Resnick. And Mal owed $45,000 to the mob. And then with interest, it ended up being $80. So, and that's about what they were going to get for this. Now that's $60. So I don't know if that's like a whole shit ton of money. Is that like, I didn't look up the exchange rate, but let's say it's $500,000 in nowadays money.
Yeah, for like inflation, I'm sure it's a lot more.
Yeah, so that's how much he owed the mob, and so he's freaking out about that. So this was supposed to be kind of like him getting his. He was supposed to get $40,000. Parker was supposed to get $40,000, and then basically he gets double crossed by Mal, because Mal wants all the money so that he can pay off the mob and the interest on the thing, and then get in good with them. So that's what he does. He in quotation marks kills Parker, double crosses everybody else except Lynn. He wants to fuck Lynn. He actually gets her to shoot Parker after they make love, at the end of the heist.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene.
Yeah,
he was like, he like confronts her after the heist and is like, you're gonna kill your husband and then you're gonna go away with me. She's like, no, I won't do it. No, you're gonna do it or I'm gonna kill you. Oh, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then like he's like watching and waiting for her to do it, like through
the door. Or whatever, yeah.
And then Parker comes in and then they like have like passionate sex, and he's like, oh man, I don't know if she's doing that to give him a good send off or if she's just like hot and bothered showing me what she can do for me later.
Yeah, no, it was totally not that. Like Mal just thinks he's that awesome or whatever. So it was all in his head. But she was, she was trying to, I guess, give Parker a good send off. But so then he gets her to kill him, to kill Parker. They get out of there. He actually killed all the other guys, so he flies out of there with her, pays off the syndicate, and now he's living in New York, all high and mighty. He's one of the boys, one of the mob's guys.
He's being good with the mob again, and he's a made guy.
Yeah, and so he just he walks around town like a big shot, and then all of a sudden, and this is kind of where the book starts, because the book, the one we read, the graphic novel, starts as Parker is like getting out of the bus, and then it just shows there's all these panels of him like walking
out. He's like walking through like the street and then walking into the subway to get to another part.
Yeah, and you see like his suit looks like shit and his foot looks like shit. A guy even throws like a nickel to him or a dime, because he looks so bad that he thinks he's homeless. Yeah, and then And then like you get to know the character Parker a little bit in this too, because there's no words for like the first 20 pages of this book. It's just him in panels doing stuff, and you see like, well, I shouldn't say there's no words, but there's no like dialogue between characters, and you see like Parker takes that dime and he goes to get some coffee, and the woman behind the counter is flirting with him, and he looks like he's flirting with her, and he asks for a cigarette, and then the second she gives him the cigarette, he just like throws down the dime and walks out like
smoke in her face.
Yeah, blows smoke in her face, throws the dime down, doesn't leave a tip or anything, and then walks out. And then he goes to a bank and he says like, "Oh, I seem to have misplaced my license. He goes to a license place. I seem to have misplaced my license. I need a thing." And they're like, "Okay, no problem. Fill out this form." This is apparently how you used to get driver's license in the 60s, which is fucking ridiculous to me. You just go there, say, "It's me."
So-and-so.
Yeah. And like, fill out this form. And then like, I think what actually had to happen is they had to check that, and then they would stamp it with their blue stamp. This is right.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. But what Parker did was he filled it all out, got it all in card size, and then all he had to do was he was supposed to go over to the place where they check you out and then stamp it, and he just walked by it and took a blue pen off the desk, and then he like filled in the stamp. It looked like, he just wrote it, and then he like crumpled it up and made it look all old so that you don't look too, like, you knew it wasn't a stamp, except when he like got it all wet and everything, you're like, you can't really tell it's not a stamp. So he made it look good enough. That's one of the things in the Parker written books. He's like, he'll do stuff just enough so that if a cop looks at it or someone looks at it, they're like, yeah, that's good. As long as they're not looking too hard, And so, he gets a driver's license. Then he goes to a bank, and he's like, "Oh, I misplaced my checkbook, and I don't know my account number." And he's like, "What's your name?" And he put a fake name on his driver's license, so it's like Dwayne Johnson or whatever. Oh, that's The Rock. That's not him, but it's one of the
Edward Johnson.
Yeah. I'm like, I knew it was Johnson. It's John Johnson. And so then they're like, he goes to like, it shows him at one bank, then the next panel is another bank, and they're all
we
saying,
don't have an account for you, sir. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that was my mistake, I guess. Oh well, he lapsed days ago, just like, oh well.
Yeah, I must be at the wrong. My wife told me the wrong one or whatever. So he goes to a bank. Finally, there's a bank where someone is named John Johnson or Edward Johnson, and he is able to show him his license. He gets a checkbook for that person's account.
Here's your new checkbook, sir.
And then this is the 60s, so all you have to do is write a check and walk out, and there's no way for them to know it's bad until they bounce, So
gets a new suit, cleans his stuff up real good.
Yeah, gets a couple of watches, sells them, pawns them right away so that he gets cash, which is like genius, back then. I was like, it's so easy to be a robber back then. Like, I would do that back then. Why didn't everybody do that? It was, all you had to do was be like, yeah, me, and have confidence saying it, and they're like, why would he lie?
Yeah. All right, mister.
Yeah, you look like a stand-up guy. You got a suit or whatever, So
look at that face, clean cut, shaven. He's a strapping young lad. I'm sure. Why would he be lying to me?
Yeah. So,
hey, mister.
So yeah, I mean, this is obviously why now we have a lot of bank rules and shit, because
things like this.
Yeah, things like this obviously happened at least somewhat. I mean, you got that movie Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's very, some of the stuff that Parker did was in that movie, kind of thing.
I have to say those panels were really cool because it made me think of like the like Vegas, like just kind of money spree thing, because it would show, it showed like the suits.
Oh yeah,
and just like,
and the way it showed it, it looked like in a movie where there's a montage of Vegas and there's like a sign going by and a pawn store and a casino.
I thought it was nice.
It was cool. It was very cinematic. The way that he drew it and everything, it was very good.
And that's one thing I always say is we're getting into, like you said, black, white, and grays, and a lot of cool shading, a lot of cool shadowy effects because of that. When things are like having to do with seedy, the shady side of things that he's doing, it's kind of like dark, and that gray goes into blending into, like I said, like shadows, where it's kind of creepy and kind of like, bad things are going on. But then when it's like this, where it's just like the happy-go-lucky kind of portion of it where he's doing his thing. Like, it was really cool. It was still very vibrant, and even with the coloring. And I think this is me going out on a limb here, but the more I read and looked at it, I was like, why does this art look familiar? Because I don't think I had read anything from him. And then
Well, you read New Frontier.
yeah, well, I read New Frontier, but like I kept looking at it and I was like, this looks so. This art is very similar, and maybe it's also because of the time period to the Batman animated series.
Right, because he was an animator on Batman the Animated Series.
And I forgot about that. Like, I had to go. That's what I was saying. I had to go back. I was like, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. So Darwyn Cooke, for all those who don't know, I don't know if he was an animator or if he was a concept artist or whatever for Batman the Animated Series. So all of his figures are very much in that style, like Bruce Timm-ish.
Every time I saw, like his jaw, Parker, I was like, why does this look so familiar?
Yeah. Which is another reason why I fucking love Darwyn Cooke. He's just, he's touched my life in more ways than one. So, and you don't even know it, you're like, this just feels right. And then you're like, oh yeah, he did that. Anyway, Parker. So Parker, all he cares about is revenge and his money. He wants revenge, but he wants his money more. So, he doesn't give a fuck about it. And you see, it actually shows what happened in between. So, He woke up in a burning bedroom, and that's where Lynn, his wife, had shot him, and Mal lit it on fire. So he woke up, got out of there. He escaped. I guess it was on an island or something where that went down. So he got off that island somehow. I can't remember how, like on a boat or something maybe.
I think so.
And then he got picked up because this is back in the time when like police would be like, "Hey, you looking rough and walking? What are you doing?" And you're like, nothing. And they're like, work camp for you. So he got put on like a chain gang, kind of like working on the side of the roads. And he was just like, well, I can't do anything anyway right now until I figure some shit out. So he had to like recover from his getting shot and all that. And then, so basically he just escaped from there after a couple, like I think he said a year or something like that, or 2 years maybe.
I think so.
And he's like enough to like let it die down so that Mal is not expecting him to come or anything. And then, then
Mal thinks he's dead. For
sure.
Sure.
Mal thinks he's dead. His wife thinks he's dead, and he just recovered, broke out of the chain gang, walked across America is what it looked like, back to Chicago. I think is where he went first because that's where he knew where Mal was from, and then. So basically, it's just him tracking down Mal from Chicago. Chicago's where Lynn is. And Mal just keeps her there. Like, he's not with her. They're not like a couple or anything. She doesn't love him. But she gets a payoff like every month of $1,000. And then he also puts her up in a hotel to like live for some reason. I think it's so like, he likes having her around when he wants her around. Yeah. But the thing is, it shows later on that he he thought that she liked him because, he's a big syndicate man in his mind. But she was like, fuck you. You made me kill my husband. And so like she did sleep with him, but not like she gave him, like she says, I gave him no satisfaction. It's just, she would just like lay there like a doll or whatever. Yeah. And let him do his thing, and then
you could kind of tell from the way since they had some panels in that too, was like she would just like limp and her arms are down and her legs are back and whatnot, and so that was part of it later because he's like, well, okay, well, you don't give me anything, but I guess he feels bad technically.
He doesn't want to kill her because he likes her so much, but he just maybe eventually she'll come around or something. Yeah. I think that's why he's keeping her around. So anyway, Parker finds out where she is. Comes to her apartment or her hotel room, and she's like, oh my God, I thought you were dead. And she's like, oh shit, he's gonna kill me. But also maybe not, and I love you, and maybe I can like make this work or whatever. And he is not having any of it.
If I just slip off my robe here, we're okay, right?
Yeah, and he's like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you go sleep on the couch. And so, one of the things I liked is that he goes to sleep on the couch, I believe. And he's like, I told her that like that tree was dead for her, but it wasn't. And then like in his mind, I think he has a vision of her like coming out to him naked, and then he like wakes up, and then he's like, yeah, I do want to go sleep with her, and he goes in the room, and she's actually already dead because in the previous conversation with her, he had said like, why don't you take too many sleeping pills? And she was like, I'm a coward. He's like, you should grow a backbone. And then she took his advice that night and did it. So then she actually killed herself. He waits until the money guy comes to deliver the $1,000.
Somebody actually physically brings her the money every.
Well, this isn't. You can't wire him. Well, you can wire money, but it's got to be over the phone and all that shit. This is so a courier has to actually bring $1,000 in cash to you. So it's not on online banking. So it's not zeros and ones, people. It's actual cash. So this guy comes. He delivers the money, and basically Parker beats the shit out of him until he tells him where the money came from. And then the money came from like one of Mal's associates over there.
He's like some head of an auto dealership.
Yeah, I think that's a cover. I think it's a cover for, whatever he's doing. Yeah, his name's Stegman. So he goes to Stegman, and then he gets Stegman to tell him where Mal is, and then says like, I'll kill you if you tell Mal that I'm on my way. And he's like, sure, no problem. I don't like Mal. He's a dickhead. He doesn't tell him everything about Mal. He just says, Mal's in New York. That's all I know. So now Parker's like, New York. So he goes to New York. And that's like, this book is separated into 4 parts. So that's like the end of part 1. Yeah. Then part 2.
The next book is where it shows you kind of like how the job went down. It started 10 months ago. The job was with planes, guns, and $90,000. That goes through like all the other guys. There's there's like Chester was a hotshot Canadian who was a smuggler, and it goes through Still is another one of the guys, and they all just have their own like little their specific.
It's kind of like Ocean's 11,
the heist.
Yeah, the heist. This is the heist that paid for Mal's syndicate payback.
Exactly. Someone's gonna go down and get a plane, and then someone's gonna grab this stuff. Someone gets in contact with the cartel people they're gonna sell the guns to, and so it just kind of goes through all of that.
And that's pretty much it for that. Like that second book is just that.
Yeah, so, and it ends.
Or the second part in that book.
Yeah, and it ends on like the double cross and and Mal taking Lynn and all the money and paying back.
Yeah. So we find out that like Mal actually did get alerted from Stegman that some guy was asking around. And he didn't know his name or anything. he was like, he looked like a hard motherfucker and he had big hands and he said he killed the girl and everything already. So Mal already knows like Parker's alive. Like he just automatically knows Parker's alive. So now Parker's in New York and he has to like really watch how he does this because he wants to get to Mal, but he can't ask around because Mal's with the organization and the syndicate and everything. So like if he asks around, people will start alerting them that someone's asking around. So he goes about it. He goes to like a madam, I guess is what she is, or maybe a prostitute that he used to know back in the day. And he's like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that guy's a fucking asshole."
Yeah, never pays all the way and this and that.
Yeah, and we really see that he's a fucking asshole too. Like,
there's it's the time frame, but there's a lot of like, "I'll smack you, sweetheart," kind of thing.
Yeah, he doesn't pull any punches in this.
No.
He doesn't like. It's not graphic because, like we say, it's black and white, and it's even like the violence. There's not like blood or anything because you can't see blood in this, but. They definitely like he gets across the point like he doesn't have a problem hitting a woman or just being a asshole.
Shooting somebody.
Yeah, shooting someone just to get ahead or whatever. So he had called up the agency previously and was like, apparently he gets women, takes them. It says like he's with them for too long, and then when they get paid, he gives them an envelope, and the envelope's always short. He's just a dickhead, basically. And so apparently he when he heard about Parker, he went to go talk to a guy named Carter, and Carter he was like, "This guy Parker's after me," and Carter's like, "Deal with it yourself. Like this is like a personal thing, has nothing to do with the mob, other than you paid us with his money.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's on you, So now he's got to deal with Parker himself. So they tell him you can't, and now you can't go back to your apartment that we keep you up in. So he has to move out into a new apartment. Parker originally was scouting his old apartment and was like, how am I going to get in here? Because Rose told him, Rose is the prostitute that he knew, or the madam that he knew. And she said, oh, yeah, that guy lives at this place, at this house number. And it's funny because at first she doesn't know if he's there to say hi or why. And then right away, Parker's like, can we get to the fucking, I'm looking for this guy. Like, I don't care about the weather. I don't want a beer.
Oh, yeah, she's like, you haven't seen me in so long, and you can't just do small talk and say how I'm doing. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Where does he live?
Yeah, and that's a running, ongoing theme in the books, too, because he, like, always it's always, like, from his point of view in the book, so he's always like, God damn it, these people want to always fucking talk, and I just have to, like, sit there and go, like, and then until they get to the point, and then they get to the point. So, like, that's, like, an ongoing thing where he's just, like, never has time for anybody on stupid shit like that. So, yeah, like, he gets her to tell him where Mal lives, and Mal is not there when he gets there. He breaks into this whole thing. He has to set up, like, all this shit. He accidentally kills a woman trying to get into this building because he was like, I got to stake out the building. He broke into a room across the street, and there was a lady in there, and he had to tie her up, and she had asthma, and he didn't know, and she died.
Yeah, that's right.
But from suffocating. So he's like, fuck, now there's a dead woman here. So what he did was he was like, you know what, I can use this to my advantage. He called the police and was like, hey, there's a dead woman in this building. And then when the cops came, the syndicate was like, what the fuck are the cops doing here? And they kind of like went to look out of the building, and he walked in. He sneaks in. So that's how he gets into the building, because he sat there for like all day trying to figure out how to get in. And when he goes to the room, it looks like no one's lived there because it's a hotel. So like everything was clean. No one was there. No bags, no anything. And so he goes back to Rose and is like, what the fuck, Rose?
Yeah, he's not there.
Yeah, and he thought she was covering for Mal, but she was not. And he's basically like not having any of it. He doesn't know who he can trust or anything. So, and he also is not a good guy. I was talking to John about this. I'm like, we forget as a reader, because you're kind of on Parker's side, Parker's not a good guy. So when he hits a woman or just treats someone badly or whatever, you're like, and then you're like, oh wait, never mind. Yeah, he's not a good guy. He's hitting anybody who's in his way, not just innocent. It could be innocent people or whatever. He doesn't care until he gets to Mal. So finally, she calls in, and turns out Mal has called in for a new girl at his new place. And so she's like, oh, do you have Mal's new residence? Because he owes me money. And so now Parker has his new address. But now she's like, I got to get out of town. Thanks a lot, asshole. Because they're going to come kill me, because they're going to be like, well, who asked about where Mal was? And they're like, oh, Rose did. So she's got to get a couple hours ahead of everybody. She's got to get out of town. And then Parker goes to Mal's new residence. And I like this, like Mal's sleeping and he had his prostitute. And then like he's like, he wakes up and he sees Parker's face like right there, right in the window. And then it shows him jump.
I want to interject, because there's one thing that was one part I actually was confused on. So he was like, they said he was like on a higher floor or whatever, but he comes in through the window.
Well, there's a fire escape.
Oh, there was a fire. Oh, that's right. He did look up at the fire escape. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It's Parker, John. Don't look too hard at
Yeah.
it. But yeah, there was a fire escape on that side or whatever, and he sees Parker coming through the window, and he's naked, and he like jumps, and he had a gun kind of ready because he already knows Parker's after him. But Parker is too fast, and he's like, gets a hold of him, and Parker's like, it's funny because he's like, I want to kill him like right now, but it's too easy, and also like it feels empty because I don't have my money. Like if I just kill him, I won't get my money, so I got to figure shit out. So he starts talking to Mal, and he's like, hey, like, where's my money? And Mal's like, well, I gave it to the syndicate. He's like, well, who did you talk to at the syndicate? He's like, you can't go after the mob. He's like, who did you talk to at the syndicate? Did I stutter? Like he's just bent on getting his money. So Mal tells him this dude named Carter is the guy that he talked to. And Mal had talked to him earlier in the book to try to get him to help him.
Yeah, he was one that was like, nah, you got to do this on your own.
Yeah, so now Parker knows a guy named Carter has my money in theory, right? And so then he just fucking strangles Mal. He like puts his fucking hands on his neck and he just like.
And this is another like great panel because there's like 9 panels on the page, and it's like him choking him like and it's all like silhouetted, and it's like him choking and like the body going back a little further, and then like only one panel shows like the eyes of Mal like rolling back in his skull and like him like really having a hard time.
Yeah.
Then him letting go, the body falling limp, him like spitting on the body. And
Yeah.
walking.
I like
really
that he spit on the body. So yeah, like finally he gets his revenge, but now he needs his money.
No, yeah, got him. Revenge check.
Yeah.
Now it's time for money.
Now it's time for money. So then then he goes to. He's got to track down Carter. So he goes. I guess he got Mal to tell him where Carter was at the building
down on 5th Avenue.
Yeah. So he goes to 5th Avenue, and the guy has like it's not a law firm, but it's some kind of like investment firm or something. So it looks on the up and up. All these places are like up and up because they've paid off the right politicians and all that stuff, and they can run under the scenes where they can wash their money in these legit businesses. And so he goes to the place, and they're like, who may I say is asking for Mr. Carter? And he's like, tell him it's the guy who killed Mal Resnick. And they're like, oh my God, okay. And so they go in, and Carter, of course, is like, okay, no problem. So he goes in, and they're like, we have to frisk you. And there's like one bodyguard, and Carter is behind his desk. And the bodyguard goes to frisk Parker, and he like right away just like, knocks him out, knocks the guard out, takes his gun, points it at Carter, and he's like, now that we both have a gun, like we both feel much more comfortable now, right? So now we'll just sit down and have a conversation. And he's like, basically says, I want my money. Like, I know Mal paid you off, and that's cool. He's square with you, but
I want it now.
Yeah, I want it now. Want you, call your boss. And the guy's like, whoa. Like, it was a personal dispute, and like, this is a legitimate business, my man. Like if this was a loan between us and you, I would understand. But it was between you and a third party contractor that we don't do dealings with anymore. I was like, because he's dead. And so yeah, like he sees it like a businessman would see it. And Parker's like, I don't give a fuck about business. You're the syndicate. You have money. I'm only asking for 45. Like, that's what he was supposed to get paid. Or 40. I don't remember if it was 40 or 45.
It's 45.
Okay. So it was 45 was what his take of it was supposed to be.
Get on the phone, call your boss, and make it happen.
Yeah, because apparently Carter can't approve it. So Carter calls a guy named Bronson, and Bronson's like, tell him no. Tell him to go fuck himself. And Carter's like, I don't think he's going to take no for an answer. So then Parker's like, I want to talk to him. And then he talks to Bronson, and he's like, hey, I'm going to kill Carter if you don't fucking pay me. And Bronson's like, look, we're not going to pay you. And he just shoots Carter in the fucking face.
Okay.
He does. And I love the way that they showed like people getting shot in the face in this one. Like, they didn't show like a whole or super detail. It was just the word blam and then like an onomatopoeia kind of big bubble text, and then like speed lines like around and through their face. It was like a really good. It kind of looked like their face was slightly exploding, but like it wasn't graphic, like it wasn't close up, so you couldn't see details or anything. But it was just like the face that was there is now not there, and it's all covered with stuff. And I think he even showed in this one like the back of his chair blow out. Yeah. So and then he's like holding up the phone, and then he's like, you hear that? Yeah, Carter's gone. And he's like, you son of a bitch. Do you know who you're dealing with? And so then Parker,
he says, I'll give you your 45,000 then, but you're a dead man.
Yeah. Well, and then he says, yeah, so basically he's come to the agreement that they're gonna give him it, but he's gonna have to be on the run the rest of his life. And so, but the way that now Parker's got to figure out, how am I gonna get the money? Because yeah, they'll give it to him in a place that he's gonna get murdered at, right? So he actually sets it up where he's like, you go to the train station, you bring two pieces of luggage that have the money, and then that's where you leave it or whatever. So it ends up like there was a double cross, of course, and Parker, he's smart enough to know like everybody in the train station at that moment is like gonna kill him. So he like takes them out one by one, and then like the two guys with the money, he actually calls Bronson. He's like, "Where are your guys?" And he's like, "Fuck, they didn't kill him." Like, so then Bronson has to like, it's on its way, and so
it's late, but it's coming.
Yeah, so then he actually does send two guys with money, and then they're supposed to kill him, and like the whole area is surrounded, like wherever you could exit the subway, train station, and so, but Parker like found a way out, where he was able to evade two guys and then end up killing him because they found him and he kills them, and then he gets away with the money. So it's pretty like cut and dry. Now I got money. And it says the last thing is like, now I got to change my face because they know what I look like. So I got to find that plastic surgeon I knew about with this money to fix my face. And so that's where like the book ends.
Yeah.
So
he gets in a car and drives off into the sunset, I guess.
Yeah. So it drives off to wherever his plastic surgeon is.
Yeah. Oh, he said that Miami or the Keys.
Yeah, he said
something.
Miami's nice this time of year or whatever. So that's where he's gonna go live for the rest of the year after this, with his $80,000, which is like $1 billion nowadays. so yeah, that's pretty much the whole like story of it generally. Now it wasn't told in like a linear like that. We kind of, made it straightforward for the listener, but it's told in a very well-paced, dynamic way in the graphic novel. So, anything else you want to add to that, John?
No, just in particular, when the narrations has some nice setup pages where it's like a bulk of narration and like a splash of Parker walking or something.
Yeah.
And then like the next like 10 panels are like those specific things happening, like walking down the street or spending the money or running from the guys at the end, trying to evade them and then killing them off one by one. It was just cool. I like sometimes there's like dialogue between the characters, like, "Give me my money." No, that's cool. But then sometimes it was the nice setup and then just like the nice art.
Yeah, the art
speak
telling
for
you.
itself.
Yeah.
So it was a really good combination. I like the way it was done a lot.
Yeah. And it's really good adaptation of this book because, like I said, I've read the book and the book is fantastic. And
I want to read
this.
This was
like, yeah, this was great. You could actually, this is so detailed, you could probably just start from book 2 and,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because you know what happened. But yeah, definitely the book is worth reading. The whole series is worth reading. And then everything Darwyn Cooke's ever done is worth reading. So, on that note, what would you give this one?
I'd say 7.
Give this one a 7?
Yeah.
Give this one a 9. This one, for me, I love it. I love the character, the way that Darwyn Cooke did it, like how he paced the book, how he did it a lot of it with just art, not even writing. I don't know. You really get a flair for the character slowly. Like, I like how you get to know the character with just the art at first. Then he starts talking. Then you see, like, other people react to him. Then you see how he reacts to people who are, like, bad guys or whatever that he's trying to get. And you even see how he reacts with people who are good people or like, not bad people, and how he's with them. So you get to really, his character is really fleshed out in this, I thought. And it was really well done. So, and the art is just so fucking good. So to me, this is a 9. And this is also kind of a groundbreaking book because I've never really read a book adaptation this good. Like, having read almost every Parker novel and then reading this, I was like, wow, like, this is like one of the best adaptations I've ever read. So, I mean, there's a lot of book adaptations in the comic book world, and almost all of them are kind of shitty. So few exceptions, but
Well, see, I gave it a 7 mainly because of the art. I thought the art was really good, and I really enjoyed it. I think the only reason that I didn't go quite as high is I like this kind of story, but I like having a protagonist that is a good guy and I enjoy. And yeah, so it's kind of hard. It's like, oh, this guy's an asshole, and like every time, and maybe it's where we live. Every time we hit somebody, a woman especially, I'm like, ah, like, and I get it. He's a bad guy. I'm not supposed to like him, and I don't know. I like the story. It was really good.
Right. Well, if this makes any consolation, he in this one, he is harder than all the other ones because he's getting revenge for being for almost being murdered. So, and his wife, what he thinks his wife fucking another guy and leaving him for her, or leaving him for the bad guy. So, it's a lot. He's a lot more hard in this one, I think, than all the other ones. So if you read him, he gets more, not softer, but he's still the same guy. But there's not like the I fucking want to murder you like in most of it. And if there is, that you've already followed that guy for 4 books, and you're like, I'm on board with you murdering that guy. You know, so there's a lot of this one specifically. He's very like harsh compared to the other ones, I think. So, and it's kind of a weird way to start a book series, because you would think they'd start with a softer one so that people get like toe dipped into the water, you know. But no, this is like either you like that character or you don't, and then he gets more personable as you go along, as you get to grow with the character. But there's definitely character growth, I would say, in this book series, because it starts off super hard from being in, you know, you got to remember, he was killed almost in a chain gang for 2 years, walked across America, and all he's thought about is, I got to get revenge on Lynn and Mal, and I want my fucking money. So, like, that's it. Like, that's all he cares
That's true. And I guess if that was all you were thinking of for years, why you're, you know, getting to that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's why this one he's harsher than he is in the other ones. But you wouldn't know that unless you read the other ones. So, but I get it. You know, we like our superhero. I like Superman. You know, he's our Boy Scout or whatever. But
he's no Captain America.
Every now and then you got to read, you know, something like this or The Punisher, and you know, you follow a not good guy. You know, so. But yeah, unless you got anything else you want to say.
No.
All right. I guess that's it for this one. We'll see you next time. If you guys have any comments or questions or suggestions, feel free to email us at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word, at gmail.com.
Don't forget to check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Instagram. We've got a lot of fun things going on. We have contests that we've been running with all our fans, so make sure to check it out.
Yep. All right. I think that's it. See ya.
Next time.
Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.